While the bride and the groom prepare for the wedding in the pale desert, the story of unstable desires, the tanker, and the conflicting options are revealed. Now, three lovers stand helpless in front of the true nature of man. Is fate inevitable? Based on Bodas de Sangre by Federico Garcia Lorca, she tells the story of the love triangle between two men and a woman. Two lovers charge their passion for challenging all moral and social rules to challenge their rule. On the same day of her wedding, the bride and her lover escaped on horseback to live their love. Their disobedience will be serious consequences. It cannot be separated from childhood. The bride and the groom shares a nice but excited passionate than the descending and arid lands that bind them. Weak and non-analytical, a fair bride is scheduled to marry the groom. However, after all this time, Leonardo, an unconventional family man and a mutual childhood friend, still feels the same passionate passion for the bride. Now, while the bride is silently preparing for her wedding in the middle of the pale desert, the weak body suits the long pain from the unstable physical desire, and three fans, powerless in front of the true nature of man. Is fate inevitable? Summary 1. With the opening of the play, the mother speaks with her son, the groom. The first chapter reveals that the groom's father and his brother were killed a few years ago by men from the Felix family. When the groom asks a knife to cut the olives in the generosity, the mother interacts with caution. Before giving the groom the knife, the violence courses are discussed and fearful. The groom leaves after his mother embraced goodbye. The neighbor arrives to chat with the mother and reveals to her that the bride previously participated with a man named Leonardo Felix, who is close to the men who killed the mother's husband. The mother, who still hates the Felix family, is angry but decides to visit the girl before she raises the matter with the groom. Leonardo, who is now married, returns to his home after work. When he enters, he sings a mother-in-law and his wife, Judita by Ibn Leonardo. The words of the beating predicted the tragedies that will happen later in the play. It is clear that Leonardo's marriage is not happy. A little girl enters the house and tells the family that the groom is preparing to marry the bride. Leonardo flies in anger, fears his wife, his mother, and a little girl leaving the house. The mother goes to the bride's house, next to the groom, where she meets the bride's servant and the bride's father. The mother tells the mother about his dead wife and his desire to see his daughter marries and holds children. The bride enters and speaks with the mother and groom. Then the father shows them, leaving the servant with the bride. The servant raises the bride about the gifts brought by the groom, then reveals to her that Leonardo is coming home at night to see the bride window. He acted on the wedding morning. Leonardo comes to see the bride again. He talks about his burning desire for her and the pride that prevented him from marrying her before. The bride, who disturbed his existence, is trying to be silent, but she cannot deny that she still has feelings towards him. The server sends Leonardo away, and the guests start reaching the wedding. The father, mother, and groom arrives, and the wedding ceremony is transferred to the church. The bride puts the groom to preserve her safety. Leonardo and his wife also go, after a short and angry argument. After the wedding, guests, families, and couple recently return to the bride's home. The party advances, with music and dance, but the bride retires to her room, claiming that she feels tired. Leonardo's wife tells the groom that her husband left horseback, but the groom is spreading her, saying that Leonardo simply went on a quick journey. The groom returns to the main room and talks to his mother. Then the guests start searching for the bride and groom, hoping to start a traditional wedding dance. But the bride cannot be found anywhere. The orders of the father who searched the house, but Leonardo's wife exploded in the room and announced that her husband and the bride had escaped together. The father refuses to believe this, but the groom fly in anger and riding with a friend to kill Leonardo. The mother, edited and angry, requests the entire wedding at night to search for the fugitives, as the father collapses in sadness. Three tools in the forest, to which Leonardo and the bride fled, behaves. Three wooden tools appear to discuss events, in a somewhat similar way in a Greek choir, except that they speak to each other, not for the public. They reveal that researchers have infiltrated the entire forest, and that Leonardo, who, after all, carries a woman, will be arrested soon if the moon comes out. While fleeing the theater, the moon appears in the form of a young wood with a white face. I mentioned that by the end of the night, the blood will be leaked. Death, disguised as an old beggar, enters and talks about the accuracy of life and how the night will end with death. It asks the moon to provide a lot of light before going out. In anger, the groom enters with youth from the wedding. Young people are annoyed by the dark forest and urges the groom to return, but the groom refuses, and he pledges to kill Leonardo and restore his bride. Death, disguised, return, tells the groom that she saw Leonardo and could lead the groom for him. The groom comes out with her. Elsewhere, in the forest specifically, the wood cuts the wood enthusiastically, and they pray that the lovers are rescued before the exit. Leonardo and the bride continues and discuss their future together. Both are full of romantic anxiety and consumed by their burning love that cannot be affected by each other, as no passion like anyone else is shared between the two. The bride puts Leonardo to flee, but he refuses. The couple hears the footsteps. The groom and Death are approaching. Leonardo comes out, two screams ringing in the dark. The moon and the woman begged again at the end of the scene. Leonardo and the groom were killed. In the city, women, including Leonardo's wife and protector, met near the church to whisper the events. Death reaches the camouflage of the begging woman, and before leaving, it announces that doom has visited the forest. The mother enters the church, full of anger and black gallbladder, only to see the bride returns, her dress covered with the blood of her fans who killed each other in the woods. It is assumed, although this has never been mentioned explicitly, and it occurs after the end of the play, the bride was then killed as a sacrifice to restore the honor of the family. However, in some embodiment of the play, it is suggested that the mother allow the bride to live based on the idea that living with the pain of the death of her lovers is a more severe punishment for death.